This is how we ride. This is how we do.
One thing that after 4 years of late model stuff, man, those guys, they have a set way of doing things, and they do not like getting off of that. I mean, it is very much the boys' club. I mean, there's rules that they go by that aren't in the rule book. It's just that's how we've always done it, and that's how we're going to keep doing it. And if you try and get them off of that route, they will come after you. I mean, it just seems like the sprint car and late model, or sprint car, midget, non-wing, that type of racer is way more laid back when it comes to that type of stuff. They just want to be there, and they just want to go race. And it seems like the late model side is much more political, much more, this is how we've always done things, and they don't want to change. So that was something I struggled with it, because I mean, it's not a secret. The late model side, or at least on the World of Outlaw late model side, it was. I feel like we were behind a little. I mean, we definitely had some room to try and catch up, and I felt like the only way you could do that is to start making some changes and try and do a few little things different, and not keep doing the same thing you've been doing. And that's not always so well received over there. So we struggle with that a little bit.
Isn't it really hard though? I was just gonna say, to elaborate, maybe get you into another area of thinking in this way. Like, isn't it also like the structure of the sprint car world versus the kind of wild gung-ho-ness of the late model world, as far as trying to attract drivers to your series and stuff? Doesn't that kind of create more of a situation where the promoters and directors of series aren't necessarily, keeping a certain structure and trying new things and all these things without the drivers, approving or denying? It's like, if World of Outlaw sprint cars want to try a format, hey, you're here, you got to do it. If y'all try a format, there's 6 guys, or this or that or whatever you want to try, 6 guys all of a sudden ain't going to come because of whatever you want to try, so the population has more of a deciding factor on the success of the series.
Oh, 100%. And that's kind of what I mean, is they kind of try and run the deal. I mean, and I mean, there's a lot of options. I mean, up until here the last couple months or whatever, I mean, if you want to race a winged sprint car for some money and race with the best, you go race against the World of Outlaws, and that's kind of your option. The late models, it's not so much. I mean, you've got World Outlaw late models, you've got Lucas Oil, now you've got XR, you've got Flow series, yep. You've got 10
Mars, MLRA, Valvoline Ironhead,
right.
I mean,
right. I mean, you could just keep rattling them off. So there's a lot of options when you're a late model team, and if there's one particular one that's doing something you don't really like. But yeah, I mean, it's probably another thing that maybe we butted heads on a little bit, is because I would want to make a change, or I can think back to my first year. They've always done the redraw. They've always split it up. So if there was 8 cars in the redraw, the top 4 drew for 1 through 4, 5 through 8 drew 5 through 8. That's fine. But when we get to a 3 program, now we're just redrawing 6, and they still wanted to do that. So they wanted to draw 1, 2, 3, and I was like, that's pointless. Like, why are we even doing a redraw at that point? It's not really doing anything. So I changed it to where the top 6 drew for the top 6 spots. And I mean, you would have thought that the world was ending. They did not. And I could, me coming from the open wheel world, and I mean, obviously we have redraws and we have inverts and a lot of stuff to make guys really race hard. I felt like in a 50 lap race, if you can't win from 6, then you probably aren't going to win the race no matter what. But I mean, a simple change like that I didn't think was a huge deal, that I thought would mix it up a little bit and make it better racing and better for the fans. Man, they did not like that. So yeah, you're right. I mean, they don't like change. They like it how it is. They feel like they have much more influence on what is being done, and they can kind of hold it over your head. If they don't like it, or if they want to argue with you, they can go somewhere else and you're out that team. So it is definitely a different world and a little tougher to navigate for sure.
I guess probably the most interesting situation that the world would have been able to see in that example of what you're talking about would have been, I can't believe this just crossed my mind. I had no intentions of bringing this up. Would have been the Bristol Kyle Larson Kevin Rumley thing, where you literally was called out nationally and kind of blamed for you were going. It would seem like if Kevin Rumley never went to a World Outlaw race again and Kyle Larson never went to another World Outlaw 8-mile race ever again, it was Casey Shuman's fault. That seemed to be the message there. What in the hell? Go through that whole deal. I'm sure you remember what I'm talking about, for one. But that had to be some interesting Facebook messages of just all throughout the night. That had to be entertaining.
No, it was. I definitely got a lot of messages and tagged in a lot of posts, and I was the end of it was the end of the world, and I needed to quit my job.
You were about to be crucified live. That's what they wanted.
Yeah.
What happened though? Go through it. Walk me through what happened. All that whole thing, that whole weekend, if you want, if that's what it matters, if that's what it takes for it to matter.
Well, I mean, I from day one when I took the job, and I didn't know a lot of people in that field anyway, so I felt like it was going to be very easy for me to keep things pretty black and white. It doesn't matter who you are, we're going to go by the same rules, and it is what it is. And when we have the very few occasions we had a guy that was running multiple divisions, we watched it. We made sure that if they were in back-to-back heats or something like that, we would definitely give them some time. We're not, if they're in the last heat race of one and the first of the next one, we definitely will make sure that they have time to get to where they need to be. But in that instance, Kyle wasn't back-to-back. There was a few.
So what
races
actually happened? Let's lay it out for somebody who may not know. It was a situation where Kyle Larson was late to the start of the A main, and I heard there was some transmission stuff, but that wasn't necessarily reported. It seemed like, but he was late to staging. You put him to the back, and they just middle fingered the whole situation at that point. Kind of, right? Literally, as Kyle went by in the pit road, I got the finger, and obviously Rumley came down and was huffing and puffing and wanting to talk to me about it, and was not very happy. But it comes down to he wasn't back to back. There was I think a dash and a semi in between when his heat was and when our feature was. Plenty of time. And he was parked with the sprint car, so he was on the opposite end of the pit area from where every other late model was. So I made sure to tell my guys that do the horn, I said, make sure every time we go blow the horn, we have to go to that side as well, give them an opportunity to hear it, know it was coming. So every time we blew the horn, we went on that side, we blew it right in front of their car. I mean, there was really no excuse. Is this one of those deals where you're like, this is how the drivers are? They've been to the stars and whatever they do. Bloomquist was kind of halfway accused of that. He's the last guy up there just because he's Bloomquist. They'll let me race. Who cares?
Right. Well, and that's the thing is, like, I've known Kyle for a long time. I feel like we're pretty decent friends and have a good communication. But just because it's Kyle and just because I shouldn't say everyone, but a lot of people are there to see him. And just because I have a relationship with him doesn't mean I can bend the rules. Because everyone's eyes were on it. And I made sure to go over there with probably 60 seconds left. I walked right in the pits. I was like, hey, we got to get going. And they said, well, we've got transmission problems. I said, that's fine. Just get it out here. And there was a truck waiting for him, literally waiting for the car, sitting in pit road. I said, just get it out here and get it going. Push it. Whatever we got to do, just get it over there. And they still were late. It sucks. I don't want to ever put someone in that position. There's been plenty of times in the 4 years there where you have to make a call that just sucks. You don't want to have to do it, but you cannot treat one guy any different. And we were very consistent with that all year. If a guy was late, they were late, and they got the same thing as Kyle did. And it almost turned out to be a great story because he started the back and was mad at all of us and drove his ass off and damn near won the race anyways. But
another middle finger, basically,
Yeah. So, we took some heat over it, but I hope that all the other competitors saw it and respected that we're not treating anyone any different. Even if I had to take heat for it for the next week or so on social media.
This is how we ride. This is how we do. Riding mud, sliding up.